certain obligations towards our children. You cannot go and say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take care of my children and leave them, and you leave the family and walk away. You have certain obligations towards your children. We have certain obligations towards our parents. We have to fulfill our obligation. We have obligations towards our neighbors. We have to fulfill these obligations. Again, أوفى بعهده. There is no specification what the ahd is. Any obligation. And the result of this is wattaqi, wattaqa. That you become, once you're not going to achieve taqwa if you're someone who does not fulfill obligations. And imagine we fast an entire month, the month of Ramadan. And the main purpose of that month is وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that you may attain taqwa. Imagine we spend an entire month going hungry to have taqwa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching other ways of getting taqwa, is that we fulfill our obligations towards other people. Because if you think about it, because a lot of people think of taqwa as this, it's just my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone is taqi, it means that person prays a lot, mashallah. He's taqi. But taqwa is, if you think about it, it's how you view, people see you. Your outward represents what's inward. If your inward is corrupt, your outward is also going to be corrupt. You cannot convince anyone that you have a good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you have bad relationship with the people around you. You cannot convince anyone that you fulfill the obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you can't even fulfill the obligations towards your fellow man. To have taqwa is to fulfill the obligations not just towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to fulfill the obligations that we have towards one another. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. توبوا إلى الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. So again, the topic here are two things. One, are we people that are trustworthy as Muslims, that we are known to be trustworthy? And the second thing, are we people who are honest? We have sidq and amana. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah and utter only the correct utterances. And I just want to spend like a minute on the word sadida. قُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. The word sadida shares the root sadda, which means to fulfill gaps. If there is a dam, a water to block water from leaking, this is called sadd. When you aim at the correct aim, that if you do it correctly, this is called sadida. So قولوا قولا سديدا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is that when we speak, not just that we speak and say the right things, but we should say it without leaving any room for misrepresentation. Our words should not have any gaps in it. People should not walk out confused what you meant. Don't say double speak. Don't say words that you don't mean. Don't walk angry to a group of people and you're walking angry and you say Assalamu alaikum. You don't really mean it. That is not qawlan sadida. Do not use words just to downplay the things that the harm that you're doing. Like you see now corporations firing people, and instead of saying we fired people, they just say we downsized. It's double speak. This is not qawlan sadida. You walk away and think this is a good thing. It's not. You'll see, governments killing civilians, and they just call it collateral damage. And you're like, oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad. Or people get tortured, and they call it enhanced interrogation. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. It's double speak. قولوا قولا سديدا. When you speak correctly, and do not leave it up for misrepresentation. So people don't walk away thinking that you said something else. Be straight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the believers as people that when it comes to things that are entrusted to them and any agreements that they make, they are always trustworthy. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَعُونَ. They always take care of their amana. They always take care of any obligations that they have. But the reasons why, and I'll talk just very briefly, the reason why I combined these two traits, and hopefully many of you will recognize it. Why did I talk about sidq and amana at the same time? Is I want you to remind you of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he became a prophet, he was 40 years old. Before that age, he never talked to people about Islam. He didn't know about Islam. He wasn't a prophet. But that man named Muhammad at the in the beginning of his 40 years life in this world, he was known amongst the people as As-Sadiq Al-Amin. Someone who was trustworthy and someone who was honest. So when that person who is honest and trustworthy, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selects him to be a prophet, and he talks to the people about Islam, it's very difficult to argue that he's lying. It's very difficult to argue that you can't trust that person. He's been trustworthy and he's been honest for the past 40 years of his life. Why would he all of a sudden lie now? And the point that I want to bring here is, if we truly want to invite people to Islam, if we truly want to invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to be known as As-Sadiq Al-Amin. We need to be honest. We need to be trustworthy. How can we invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we are known to be dishonest? How can we invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when people don't trust us? If we're constantly lying, if people can't entrust us with their valuables, how can they entrust us with their lives? How can they entrust us with their life in the hereafter? We need to be known as As-Sadiq Al-Amin. If we truly want to follow the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then the first thing we need to do is to work on our own characters and traits. We need to be known as As-Sadiq Al-Amin. And I know that sometimes we come to situations where we have to, we think if we just lie, then I will get more money somehow. I need to provide for my kids. So I'm going to have to lie on this application. Or I'm going to have to, scam these people in my business because I need to make more money. And when you don't, other people are doing it, and you feel like you're losing money. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that on the day of judgment, قَالَ هَذَا يَوْمُ يَنْفَعُ الصَّادِقِينَ صِدْقَهُم. That day, then the sadiqeen, people who are trustworthy, people who are honest, will benefit from being honest and trustworthy. If you think that you're not benefiting from being trustworthy and honest today, just wait. هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم. The trustworthy and the people who are honest will truly benefit on that day. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us the people who are known to be trustworthy, and the people who are known to be honest. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people recognize Muslims as being sadiq and ameen. يا الله اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك ويا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. شيخ علاء لو سمحت تشغل المايك تاع السجود الله يكرمك بجوز مطفي.
استقيموا رحمكم الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله 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 السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. جمعة مباركة وتقبل الله منكم. And just a friendly reminder to please support your local mosque. And جزاكم الله خير. Tonight, inshallah, we're having an orientation for the youth program. So we have two orientation. The first one is geared toward those middle schoolers who are going to high school. So basically, we have some mentors that they are trying to share what to expect when you are going to high school in terms of GPA and other questions and clubs and all of that. And second one, which is mandatory, is going to start at 8 p.m. inshallah. Application is open and we're accepting kids between 11 and 17 inshallah. So it's open for everyone. So please join us inshallah. And the application will close on Sunday. So inshallah, the last day will be Sunday. And third announcement, just talking about